Marco Rubio held a press conference this week. He had one message: the hardest hits are yet to come. Not, here's how it ends. Not, here's our exit strategy. Not, here is what we are offering Iran diplomatically. The hardest hits are yet to come. And when asked if there are any diplomatic talks happening with Iran right now, none. Zero. Not at this time. This is how America is running a war in week 2.
From the bottom. So look, the United States conducted this operation with a very clear goal in mind. I haven't had a chance to see a lot of reporting. I don't understand what the confusion is. Let me explain it to you, and I'll do it once again as clearly as possible. Perhaps you'll report it that way. The United States is conducting an operation to eliminate the threat of Iran's short-range ballistic missiles and the threat posed by their Navy, particularly to naval assets. That is what it is focused on doing right now, and it's doing quite successfully. I'll leave it to the Pentagon and the Department of War to discuss the tactics behind that and the progress that's being made. That is the clear objective of this mission. The second question that's been asked is, why now? Well, there's 2 reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond and respond against the United States. The orders had been delegated down to the field commanders. It was automatic, and in fact, it bared to be true, because in fact, within an hour of the initial attack on the leadership compound, the missile forces in the south and in the north, for that matter, had already been activated to launch. In fact, those had already been pre-positioned. The third is the assessment that was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit them, we would suffer much higher casualties. And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act. Going back to the purpose. The purpose of this is to destroy that missile capability. Why does Iran want that ballistic missile capability? What they are trying to do, and have been trying to do for a very long time, is build a conventional weapons capability as a shield where they can hide behind. Meaning, there would come a point where they have so many conventional missiles, so many drones, and it can inflict so much damage that no one can do anything about their nuclear program. That is what they were trying to do, is put themselves in a place of immunity where the damage they could inflict on the region would be so high that no one can do anything about their nuclear program or their nuclear ambitions. They are producing, by some estimates, over 100 of these missiles a month. Compare that to the 6 or 7 interceptors that can be built a month. They can build 100 of these a month, not to mention the thousands of one-way attack drones that they also have. They've been doing this for a very long time, and by the way, they've been doing it under sanction. You see the attacks they're conducting right now? They're attacking airports, they're attacking hotels, they're hitting not just military bases, they're attacking our embassies directly, they're attacking facilities that have nothing to do with war or with military, and that's a weakened Iran. That's in Iran despite years of sanction. Imagine a year from now, or a year and a half from now, the capabilities they would have to inflict damage on us. It's an unacceptable risk, especially in the hands of a regime that's run by radical clerics. The Ayatollah was a radical cleric. That entire regime is led by radical clerics who don't make geopolitical decisions. They make decisions on the basis of theology, their view of theology, which is an apocalyptic one. That has to be taken very seriously as well. So that was the purpose for what this operation is all about. That's what it's focused on. As the President said earlier today, it is on or ahead of schedule. I will defer to the Department of War to discuss the progress being made at a tactical level, but it was the right decision and an important decision for the safety and security of the world.
Let me go through what Rubio just said piece by piece. First, the objective. Rubio said the objective of this war is to destroy Iran's ballistic missile capability and their navy. That is the mission. Clear. Focused. Except, 2 weeks ago, Trump said the goal was regime change. The Iranian people should rise up. It will be yours to take. Then it was working with leaders inside the regime. Then it was unconditional surrender. Then it was the Venezuela model. Now Rubio says it is destroying missiles and the Navy. And we would not be heartbroken if the regime fell too. But that is not the objective. So which one is it? Rubio says the objective is clear. The objective has changed approximately 8 times in 2 weeks. Second, why now? Rubio's explanation, Iran would have reached a point of immunity in about a year or a year and a half. They were building missiles faster than America could build interceptors. 100 missiles a month versus 6 or 7 interceptors. At that pace, in a year, nobody could stop them. That is actually a coherent argument. It is the first coherent strategic argument anyone in this administration has made about why this war started. But here is the problem. If that was the reason, if Iran reaching missile immunity was the real strategic concern, that argument should have been made to Congress. It should have been the basis for a congressional authorization. It should have been presented to the American people before the first bomb dropped. Instead, Trump launched the war on a Saturday, told the Gang of 8 afterwards, and Rubio stood at a podium and said there is no law requiring them to do anything more. He is technically correct. No presidential administration, Democrat or Republican, has ever accepted the War Powers Act as constitutional. That is a real legal argument. But here is what that argument actually means in practice. It means one man, without a vote, without a debate, without the consent of the American people's elected representatives, decided to start a war with a country of 90 million people because he had a feeling it needed to happen, because Israel was going to do something anyway, because his department assessed they would suffer more casualties if they waited. A feeling, an Israeli action they knew was coming. A casualty assessment. That is what bypassed Congress. That is what bypassed 535 elected representatives. That is what bypassed the constitutional requirement that only Congress declares war. And now, 8 Americans are dead. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. Oil is approaching $100 a barrel. And Rubio says the hardest hits are yet to come. Third, the school. A journalist asked about the building in southern Iran. The school, the 160 girls. Rubio said, I would refer you to the Department of War. I don't want to get it wrong. The Secretary of State, the top American diplomat, said he does not want to get it wrong about whether an American missile killed 160 children. He said the United States would not deliberately target a school. The preliminary investigation has already concluded the U.S. was likely responsible. Multiple independent analyses point to a U.S. airstrike. CNN geolocated a Tomahawk missile. And Rubio said he does not want to get it wrong.
Yeah, I've seen those reports. I would refer you, not because I'm not trying to answer your question, but I don't want to get it wrong. The Department of War would be investigating that if that was our strike, and I would refer your question to them, and I'll make sure they're aware that you have that question. But we'd like to know. Well, clearly, the United States would not deliberately target a school. Our objectives are missiles, both the ability to manufacture them and the ability to launch them, and the one-way attract drones. That would be our focus, and that's what we would be focused on. We would have no interest and, frankly, no incentive to target civilian infrastructure. The Iranians are, on the other hand, targeting civilian infrastructure. You guys have seen it. I'm sure you've seen it. They're hitting hotels. They're hitting embassies. They're hitting airports. They're hitting oil infrastructure. Well, it'd be very tragic, but I can't speak to the details behind it because I just don't have it. It would be a tragic outcome if it's happened. I don't have the details as to what led to it. But what is clear is that the United States would not deliberately target a school. They are, on the other hand, deliberately targeting civilians, as you've seen, because you know why? They are a terroristic regime. They sponsor terrorism and they participate in terrorism.
What's your message to Americans who are concerned about rising energy prices given the spiking of oil prices today?
Yes, and we knew that going in would be a factor, and so we have a program in place that will begin to be implemented by Secretary Wright, Secretary Bessent. We talked about it last night, again, about this program. We talked this morning, and starting tomorrow you will see us rolling out those phases to try to mitigate against that. Obviously, markets are going to be reacting to news about what's happening. And again, a reminder, think about it, okay? This terroristic regime, led by radical clerics, has the ability, potentially, to shut off 20% of global energy. That's the kind of leverage they have because of their Navy. We're going to destroy their Navy. But there is a plan in place. We anticipated this could be an issue, and Secretary Wright and Besson will begin to roll out those steps starting tomorrow to mitigate against the impact that could have. I got to do this briefing, so I got a couple more. Yeah.
Do you anticipate putting boots on the ground, and how long do you anticipate the conflict to last?
Well, we don't. Let me say two things about it. Number one, the president always has the options to undertake whatever operations he decides to do as the commander-in-chief. That said, we believe the objective that we have set for this mission, which is the destruction of their ballistic missile capabilities, both launch capability and manufacturing, can be achieved without ground forces. Right now, we're not postured for ground forces, but obviously the president has those options. He's never going to rule out anything. But right now, our focus is on the destruction of their ballistic missile launchers, their ballistic missile stockpiles, and their ballistic missile manufacturing capability, as well as their one-way attract drones and their Navy, because of the threat it poses to global shipping.
How long is this?
All right, I can only do one more. Right there in the middle. Yes, sir.
Is there a diplomatic exchange going on right now between the U.S. and Iran? Any exchanges whatsoever outside of
No, not at this time. I mean, look, we always have people that reach out from inside of governments. You don't know if they're authorized to reach out or not. They're suffering a tremendous amount of damage. Honestly, again, I'm not going to give away the details of our tactical efforts, but the hardest hits are yet to come from the U.S. military. The next phase will be even more punishing on Iran than it is right now. Someone was screaming, how long will it take? I don't know how long it'll take. We have objectives. We will do this as long as it takes to achieve those objectives, and we will achieve those objectives. The world will be a safer place when we're done with this operation. All right?
No diplomatic talks. None. Not back channel, not through Qatar, not through any intermediary, not at this time. The Secretary of State, the person whose entire job is diplomacy, confirmed that America is conducting zero diplomatic engagement with Iran while actively bombing them. The hardest hits are yet to come. I do not know how long it will take. We will do this as long as it takes. Let me translate that for you. No plan for how it ends, no timeline, no exit, no diplomacy, just more bombs, harder bombs, for as long as it takes. Now, here is what every military historian, every foreign policy expert, every person who has ever studied how wars end will tell you. Wars do not end with bombs alone. Every war, every single one, ends at a negotiating table. Even wars that end in total military victory require someone to sit down and sign something, require terms, require diplomacy. The Japanese surrendered in 1945, and America still had to negotiate the terms of that surrender. Germany surrendered, and the Allies spent months negotiating what came next. Rubio's plan, more bombs, harder bombs, as long as it takes, is not a war plan. It is a description of escalation with no endpoint. And here is what that means right now. Iran is not going to unconditionally surrender. Former CIA directors have said it. Former national security advisors have said it. Military experts have said it. A country of 90 million people fighting for its survival does not unconditionally surrender to airstrikes. They are going to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed. They are going to keep hitting oil tankers. They are going to keep launching drones. They are going to keep imposing economic costs on the entire world. Until America either achieves its objectives, whatever those objectives actually are this week, or finds a diplomatic off-ramp. There is no third option. And Rubio just confirmed there are zero diplomatic talks happening, which means the only option on the table right now is more bombs, harder bombs, as long as it takes. While 1,000 ships sit in a backlog, while oil approaches $100 a barrel, while American families pay more at the gas pump every single week this war continues, while 8 American service members are already dead and more are at risk every day. The hardest hits are yet to come. For Iran, for the region, for the global economy, and for American families filling up their gas tanks and watching their retirement accounts take hits who were never asked if they wanted this war in the first place. Share this video. because people deserve to understand what Rubio actually said, not just the headlines. Subscribe, new video every week. Drop a comment. Do you think there will be any diplomatic talks with Iran before this war ends? Because Rubio just said there are none. Right now, zero.